Is Russell Wilson elite? Is Russell Wilson truly elite? Any Seattle Seahawk fan will tell you, of course, Russell Wilson's elite. But is Russell Wilson truly elite? How we doing, Seahawk fans? Thank you for tuning in. This is Rob English, your Socal Seahawk, and thank you for tuning in for another edition of Short Yardage. And we are going into week 11, and your Seattle Seahawks are 6-3. Unfortunately, still sitting a game back of the the Los Angeles Rams. But still very much in the mix for the division, and even better as we push towards the playoffs. It's coming up. We're halfway through November, and then you got December, and it's really on. Next thing you know, it's going to be January, and we're in the playoffs. So things are going to be heating up. Before we go any further, I want to go ahead and just do the shout out. Make sure you tune in, go check out Seattle Sports Union, seattlesportsunion.com on the web. We are dedicated to Seattle sports, everything from the Mariners to the Mist, and obviously the Seahawks. Catch us on Facebook at Seattle Sports Union, and on Twitter at Seattle Sports U. Catch our live Seattle Seahawk post-game show Sundays at 8 p.m., where we break down the greatness and the sometimes not so great performance of the Seahawks of the just previous game. Check us out, like, follow, subscribe. Russell Wilson. Is he elite? Now, the reason I ask this, is Russell Wilson elite, is because, okay, what has been Russell Wilson's, the narrative of the detractors, okay, the naysayers of one Russell Wilson. When Russell Wilson, the kid out of Wisconsin by way of NC State, was drafted in the 3rd round, a lot of people said that, Seattle wasted a draft pick on this kid. He's too short. Can't play quarterback in the NFL, right? All he did was take the starting job away from the guy that we just paid some odd millions of dollars to, Matt Flynn. And he's, the rest is history, obviously. But that happened. And as the Seahawks starter, Pete Carroll saw fit to bring him along slowly, because he had the ability to. We had the ability to bring Russell Wilson along slowly. We had a great running game and a great defense. So it's because of that, the way that Russell Wilson was brought along throughout his career, that he took on this game manager. They portrayed him as a game manager. And there may be some shred of truth to that in the very beginning, but he's never really been able to shake that. And even to this day, Russell Wilson does not really get a fair shake, if you ask me. Many people out there, including 12s, including Seahawk fans, don't believe, or didn't believe at one point, that the success of this Seattle Seahawk team was due to Russell Wilson. I've been saying it all along, and people look at me like I have, something on my face, that the 13-3s and the 12-4s, this isn't because of Marshawn Lynch. It wasn't because of Marshawn Lynch. Was it in part because of Marshawn Lynch? Obviously. It wasn't because of the defense. Number one defense in football. Was it in part because of the number one defense in football? Of course. Of course it was. And maybe without those two things, the Marshawn Lynch or the number one defense, the Legion of Boom and all that, maybe without either one of those, or, take your pick, take one of them away, take both of them away, whatever. Maybe without them, we don't do what we did. I mean, certainly not. But I have always asserted that we go farther. The Seattle Seahawks go farther if you pick out either one of the two and replace it with anything else. You take away that great defense and replace it with a regular defense, an average defense. You take away Marshawn Lynch, the great running back that he was for us, and you replace him with a more average running back. Keep Russell Wilson. You are going to get farther, maybe not as far, but farther than if you keep the defense and the Marshawn Lynch and remove one Russell Wilson. That has been my narrative. That has been my speech the entire time. Save the first year or two, because who knew? Well, after the first year, we were in the Super Bowl. One year, we almost got there. Second year, we got there. But, when it has come down to how good this man actually is. The history of the Seahawks start from 2012 to now. The overall success of this team. You have more success in comparison removing the Marshawn or the defense, keeping the Russell Wilson. You take Russell Wilson away, this team barely wins games, if they win any games. And it's because of what Russell Wilson has been able to do and what Russell Wilson did not do, and all those intangibles that is Russell Wilson. It's Russell that has done it for us. Take a look at Russell Wilson's stats throughout his career. While everybody continues to call this guy, a game manager, is only good because his defense is good, is only good because he had a great running back. If you look at Russell Wilson's stats, just go on yards, or you'll pick a stat. Russell Wilson threw 10 picks in his rookie year, and that number went down every year until last year when he threw 11. So from 2012 through 2015, he threw 10, 9, 7, and 8. Last year, he threw 11, which isn't the worst thing in the world. He's thrown 6 this year. He is an efficient quarterback. At the very least, he's efficient. But you could say that about any game manager. What they said about Russell Wilson is that would he or he won't be able to carry this team on his own. If anything ever happens to that running game, if anything ever happens to that defense, Russell Wilson's not going to be able to do it. Well, you know what? If you take a look, Russell Wilson, look at the Seahawks since 2012. On the whole, from 2012 to now, the running game and the defense has gotten progressively worse. If you just look at it, I know that, 1 year was good and 1 year was bad and 1 year was good, But I mean, we were the number one defense, 3 years in a row. I think 4 years in a row. I'm sorry. 4 years in a row. Right. But statistically speaking, or even personnel wise, these things got technically worse, especially the last couple of years, the last 3 years. Okay. Let's say since the Super Bowl. Let's just say that since the Super Bowl, they've gotten the running game and the defense have gotten progressively worse than they were. Not saying they're the worst thing in the world now. They just gotten progressively worse than they were. You know what's gotten progressively better? Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has thrown for more passing yards every year of his career, up to and including the last 3 years where the defense and the running game have gotten progressively worse. When these supporting casts for Russell Wilson have gotten worse, he has gotten better. Is that not what elite quarterbacks are supposed to do? When the rest of the team can't hack it, you pick yourself up by your bootstraps and handle it? Is that not what elite quarterbacks do? Because it's damn sure what Russell Wilson has done. Leading all the way up to today, where Russell Wilson has thrown for over 2,500 yards this season, and we're only halfway through the season. At Russell Wilson's current clip, he could throw for 5,000 yards. He's just under the clip for 5,000 yards right now. Now, okay, probably won't stay there, but that's besides the point. Right now, Russell Wilson is number 2 in the NFL in passing yards, behind only one Tom Brady. That's it. Tied for second in touchdowns, tied with Tom Brady. Both Brady and Russell, just one back of Carson Wentz, 1 or 2 back of Carson Wentz. So look at the numbers. Is Russell Wilson elite? Now, here's the question. And really, this is going to solidify it. Well, it may solidify it. Because the reality of it is now, the question that has always been is, what can Russell Wilson do when he doesn't have all those other things that he had? Well, he doesn't have them. The running game, non-existent. The defense, on its last leg. No pun intended, with Richard Sherman's leg being that's injured, his Achilles. Richard Sherman out for the season. He's on the IR. The Legion of Boom is shorthanded, to say the least. The corner on the opposite side of Richard Sherman has been questionable since, since Byron Maxwell left. Maybe Deshaun Shedd was Deshaun Shedd was great, but he's been hurt all year. But even that being the case, the left side has always been, the questionable side. But you scheme for that because you have Sherman on the other side. But Sherman's gone. You literally had a third of the field covered when you had Richard Sherman on the field. You have quarterbacks that typically really won't even go at Sherman. Especially not any, putting the ball in the air in Sherman's direction. You might get quarterbacks that'll run, that'll run a slant or run a comeback on Sherman's side. because you can run a comeback on any corner. But the way they call these penalties now, you can't touch them. But you're not going to put the ball up in the air, Richard Sherman. You just know you don't do that. And every time you do, he makes you pay for it. But Sherman's gone. Earl Thomas is lame. By lame, I mean injured. He'll be back this season. Hopefully he makes it back for Monday against the Falcons, but maybe not. So we're down to Cam Chancellor. We just signed Byron Maxwell, but I'll get to that later. We're down to Cam Chancellor. So really, the Legion of Boom is not there. So here we are. It's Russell Wilson time. In Russ we trust. In Russ we trust. This is going to be it. We've got, matter of fact, the game coming up on Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons. This has the makings of being another shootout, like the Houston Texans game. The Houston Texans game was not expected to be a shootout, but it was. And boy, did Russell Wilson show out. Where the running game was literally non-existent. You may remember from my previous episode of Short Yardage. There was 33 yards of rushing in that game. 33 total. 30 of them came on scrambles by Russell Wilson. I believe it was on 3 or 4 scrambles. Gained 30 of the 33 rushing yards. Which meant that the other rushes, and there was a lot of them, relatively speaking. I think it was 17, 17, between Rawls, between Lacey, McKissick, and Tyler Lockett, 3 yards gained. I did the math. It worked out to be 6 inches per carry. So Russell Wilson pulled himself up by his bootstraps, went out there and tossed that football around, and went punch for punch with Deshaun Watson. Came out on top. Now he's going up against Matty Ice, who knows how to toss the football around. Sounds to me like we're going to have another shootout. We're going to have to. They got guys named like Julio Jones over there. Who's going to guard him? The Falcons have weapons. I think Devontae Freeman is out for this game, if I'm not mistaken. But the Falcons have offense. This would normally be a great game considering that Seattle's defense is so great. And it isn't the worst defense in football now, but it's not the Seahawks defense we all know and love. The Falcons are going to put up points, which means that Russell Wilson is going to have to put up points, and we know they're not coming from the running game. This is the first of many tests that Russell Wilson is going to have to pass. And when he does it, you, America, the world, will have to accept the fact that Russell Wilson is elite. He does not have the supporting cast anymore. As Russell Wilson goes, so goes the Seattle Seahawks. So going back to Byron Maxwell, Seattle signed Byron Maxwell to, this is another one. I really, really, really hate to see how, my fellow 12s out there on the social medias, on the interwebs, are just so happy that we signed Byron Maxwell. And it's great that we got Byron Maxwell because he's familiar. But it just feels like people are so happy because they are calling back to, Byron Maxwell seemingly playing so great when he was with us. And he did. He did. Byron Maxwell played great. during his time with Seattle. But so did Brandon Browner. Brandon Browner, his only foul up, the only bad thing about Brandon Browner was he was a little bit suspect to the double move. But everybody's suspect to the double move. Brandon Browner was he's the original cast member of the LOB. He was the original LOB. Browner, Sherman, Thomas, Chancellor. That's the original LOB. That team was unstoppable. That team could not be messed with. But Browner left. Browner went to New England and New Orleans and washed out of both. Enter Byron Maxwell. Byron Maxwell was like, man, he might even be better than Brandon Browner. Played great opposite Richard Sherman. Byron Maxwell got a big contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. It was like 6 years or 5 years, 60-something million, 25 guaranteed, something crazy like that. A huge contract. He was only there for a year. Then he got traded to Miami. He was at Miami for a year, and then he got cut. I say all that to say that you guys have to remember that these players had the appearance of being as good as they were because of what they had to help them, what they had on the opposite and above them. When you have Earl Thomas on top, when you have the enforcer, Bam Bam Cam Chancellor, lurking, and you have Sherman on the other side, it's easy to scheme. You know they don't want to put that football anywhere but where the not Sherman, Chancellor, or Earl Thomas is. You don't want to put it up near Earl Thomas because he will go get it. You don't want to put it up near Richard Sherman because he will go get it. You don't want to put it up near Cam Chancellor because he might knock whoever has the ball in their hands into the middle of next week. So you throw it at the other guy. And when you know the ball is coming, it's a little bit easier to play football. It's a little bit easier to defend. It's easier to scheme that. That's what made Brandon Browner and Byron Maxwell look so good. To those that remember, Super Bowl 30, I believe it was, back in the 90s, the Dallas Cowboys played the Pittsburgh Steelers. The game was over early. Why? Because Larry Brown, corner, Dallas Cowboys, had 2 interceptions early in the game that basically put Pittsburgh away early. I think it was Neil O'Donnell, right? It basically put Pittsburgh out of the game early. By the time halftime got there, the game, it was already a lost cause, really. Larry Brown was the Super Bowl MVP of Super Bowl 30 based on his defensive performance. Why? Because Deion Primetime Sanders was on the opposite side of the field, and you know you don't throw at Deion Sanders. It's the same idea here. So Byron Maxwell is not here to be the savior. He's not here to save the LOB. He is here to provide added depth at the cornerback position because we are multiple men down. Shed's not back. Sherman is gone. Jeremy Lane, jury's out. Who knows what Jeremy Lane's going to show up? I know I don't. I just feel for my fellow Seahawk fans out there. I just feel like they're just setting themselves up to be disappointed here, and I don't want that. I don't want that for you, 12s. I don't want that for you. Temper your excitement. We are going up against the Atlanta Falcons on Monday night, a team that has not played well. I mean, talk about a Super Bowl hangover. They've definitely got one. However, they did beat the Cowboys. They just beat the Cowboys. I don't know if this was Atlanta playing well or the Cowboys playing bad, but they handled business against the Cowboys. The Atlanta Falcons have a defensive end named Adrian Claiborne, who set a team record with 6 sacks on Sunday. Now, that's great in itself, but this was against the Dallas Cowboys, who have this offensive line that's supposedly like impregnable, right? Atlanta beat the Dallas Cowboys 27-7 on Sunday. And this guy, Adrian Claiborne, had 6 sacks against the Dallas Cowboy offensive line. If Adrian Claiborne can get 6 sacks against the Dallas Cowboys O-line, what do you think he's going to do against the Seattle Seahawks offensive line? Which is about as tough as a wet paper bag. Who are you going to call? You're going to call Russell Wilson to do Russell Wilson stuff. He's going to have to, because he's got no running game to fall on, and he's got no defense to fall on. I'm saying in this game, they're going to have to do a lot of what they started to get going last week in Arizona, getting Russell Wilson out of the pocket. You're going to have to play action and then bootleg him, motion him out. You're going to have to get him out of the pocket. If you let Russell Wilson sit in that pocket, he's going to get swallowed up. And it probably will be by Adrian Claiborne. You get Russell out of the pocket, at the very least, he can do something with his feet or just get rid of the football. Don't worry about the defense, folks. Worry about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is going to show the naysayers. Russell Wilson is going to show the detractors why you have all been wrong for all these years about whether or not Russell Wilson is elite. He's getting ready to show you. He's getting ready to put this Seattle Seahawks team on his shoulders and take back this division from the St. Louis Rams. I said it again. The Los Angeles Rams. I'll figure this out one day. The world will know that Russell Wilson is elite. Just a quick one real quick before we go. Everybody, especially you folks in Seattle, probably know, if you guys have watched any of the Legends Football League, the LFL, you probably know who Jessica Hopkins is. Jessica Hopkins, wide receiver and safety for the Mist. She's actually going to be a guest on the show, on the SSU Live show. We're going to have her on within the next week or two. So look out for that. Going to have her on to talk some Hawks with us. Find out what she's got going on in life these days, since retiring from professional football. So look out for that. That's going to be real fun. Looking to talk some Hawks with her. So, yes, that's it. Let's see what happens on Monday night. I'm kind of upset that we're not going to get to see the Seahawks on Sunday for the second straight week. It doesn't matter when they play. If they don't play on Sunday, it angers me. They played on Thursday last week, and then Sunday came along, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with myself. And now this weekend, Sunday's going to come and go, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself because I'm not going to have any Seahawks to watch. I have to wait till Monday, and I have to try to get out of work early, which I won't do, to get home to watch this game. I'm going to miss the first, probably 10, 15 minutes of the game. That's real time, not game time, but I don't like missing kickoff. I hate missing kickoff, and I'm going to miss kickoff. I really don't like that. But I digress. All right, 12s. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, this is Rob English, your Socal Seahawk. Check us out. SeattleSportsUnion.com on the web, Facebook, at Seattle Sports Union, Twitter, at Seattle Sports U. Go Hawks.